Depois de deixar para trás as tarefas como executivo da Apple, Woz decidiu terminar a faculdade. Deu aulas no ensino médio, criou empresas e um campeonato mundial de polo em Segway, aquela espécie de andador sobre duas rodas.
Steve Wozniak and his partner, Karina Smirnoff.
Sempre extrovertido, Steve Woz é seguido por uma legião de fãs que o acompanham desde a versão americana da Dança dos Famosos até o seriado The Big Bang Theory.
Is that Steve Wozniak? I think it is.
The great and powerful Woz.
Woz, the world has seen you in TV commercials, TV popular series, Dancing with the Stars. What could you tell us about your pop star lifestyle? I mean, is that the real Wozniak trying to make the most fun of life?
A lot of these things are blessed accidents. Never once would I ever pick up a phone and call a press, even yourself, and say, I want you to print something. Never once would I call a TV show and say, I want to be on your show. Never, ever. I try to hide back and be, my natural style is to be unseen. But they call me, and I answer the phone, and I'm polite, and I get talked into things. And I turn down Dancing with the Stars so many times because I can't dance. I've never seen the show. But they talk you into it if they're nice enough. So I am blessed, and it is kind of a rock star life everywhere I go. But I had that before these TV shows. Even before the TV shows, anywhere in the world, people might come up, oh my gosh, Apple is such a great company. Or, you know, oh God, I love my Apple II computer.
Is it all the racing championships?
Yeah.
Oh, what is it about the Z car?
It is awesome.
Hey, Steve, you sell the apples. I'll sell the Z.
So I already had that. I don't know why an engineer would ever get it. I think they admired a lot of things that they know about my life. You know, the fact that I would go back and get a degree, the fact that I would teach young kids for 8 years, you know, and keep it secret, the fact that I was very charitable and didn't really do things for money.
And what would you say it's your philosophy nowadays?
Well, major philosophy is life's about happiness. You measure your accomplishment by that, not by money. Be nice to people. An individual, letting somebody know that you care about their situation is more important than even creating a personal computer for the world. When a teacher looked at me and said, oh, wow, you know, you did great work and praised me, that sort of praise, that meant more in my life. And that what I was doing was good stuff, and I'm going to keep it up and keep going at it than you know, anything that comes from it that you can really measure in other ways. So it really gets down to me, the philosophy is feel good in your heart. That's where the happiness has to be.
In your biography, you say you learned not to give great credibility to what you read in the media. How to believe in what we see and in what we read in the internet? Do you think there should have to be any kind of control of quality?
I don't like the idea of controls, but I think there always has to be some. Let's call it regulation, if you will. Where do our freedoms come from? In the United States, our freedoms come from regulation. It's called the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. And it says, basically, life will be run on these sort of rules. These are what Congress cannot do to impede things. But there's always limits. I mean, we have freedom of speech, but you can't yell fire in a crowded theater, and you can't stimulate people to go to violence. There are still limits to free speech. I think that there should be stronger penalties when the media prints fabricated information and very incorrect information about individuals, and they know that it is. Take very negative slants, and they'll say, oh, by technical reading of the words, a lawyer can demonstrate that this is clearly by a spreadsheet okay and true, but it's really giving everybody an impression that's a lie.
Well, you are co-founder of EFF, which is one of the most important net-censorship organizations. What are the biggest challenges for the internet now and in the future?
There are a lot of individual challenges on the internet, and usually it runs into the gamut of either the government or large companies trying to manipulate and regulate what users will get and see in their internet experience. And I'm for just, it should be totally open, it should be as free. When we first discovered the internet, it was oh my God, I can get to anywhere in the world for the first time in my life at basically no cost. And I can actually share information with other people far away. I can put up my own websites. And now we're getting told that maybe people who pay money will be able to get their television channels to me a little bit faster than somebody who didn't want to pay the money. Let me choose. Let me say, I want all these TV shows, and great. If I can only see one at a time, let me choose, which one gets the preference. No, the internet neutrality, it's called, but it goes deeper than net neutrality. And basically, I am on the internet, and you don't get in the way. You don't blockade. You don't focus and become a content provider and decide what I'm going to get to on the internet.
Are you a big fan of convenience in terms of technology on the market? And if so, would you say convenience is the key element of Apple's success?
Apple got a reputation for making easier to use products than other people that were sort of more understandable to a human with eyes and fingers over time. And to this day, Apple's really setting the tone for that, changing a lot of our cell phone experience and now the pad experience, and by presenting it in ways that are basically more convenient. Look, we care about quality. And all my life, music, you got hi-fi, you bought hi-fi systems. The higher the fidelity, the more the fidelity from the low frequencies to the highs, they were all reproduced equally. And then all of a sudden, MP3s came along, and quality was out the door. We didn't care about quality, we cared about the convenience. And that's what the modern computer era, the internet era is all about. It's how easy and quick can I just get something by almost no action at all.
Was Steve Jobs the guy who did the iPhone, the iPod, the iPad? Would that products have happened without him?
Those products were already happening without Steve Jobs. There were a lot of music players, MP3 music players. Very low amount of songs on expensive media compared to today, or the mini disc from Sony where you had to record your own. And Apple really got the formula right. So really what Steve's contribution is spotting when the formula is right for the masses. And he very often says, not for the techies who understand everything, but for everybody to use, the same as a Walkman. How do you make a device? And there was the iPod. So Steve was very, very responsible for that. Would it have happened without him? Well, Apple has kind of a good culture, but I think back in those days, Steve was certainly the most important person to guarantee. If you have a normal company, there might be 10 important executives, each vying to have certain features on something. It'll come out cluttered with features. We don't do that. That whole idea of simplicity and convenience is it does what I want and not much more. And that's a balance that Apple's very good at finding.
And talking about Steve Jobs' health, do you think that, for whatever reason, if Steve Jobs would not be at Apple, would the company be as capable as able to produce the kind of products it's producing?
Oh, the analysts talk about this over and over and over. And the last time Steve had a health problem, they made it sound like they kind of all agreed that Apple would not be the same. Steve's gone, Apple goes down the drain. And this time, the same analysts are saying, oh, Apple has a good seated, set of, top executives and staff, and it will really go on the same for some time. So who knows what you want to believe.
So what is the most important technology product you use in your daily life, and why?
The most important is my MacBook Pro, which is kind of like the older, larger laptop, because that's the one that I usually prefer to sit down with at home or in hotel rooms, which is most of my life, and start doing my internet work, which is hours a day, and it's very important to me. When I'm in a place like a restaurant or an airplane, I prefer the iPad, and I use the iPad for the same things. And when I'm walking around, and all I have on me is my iPhone. My iPhone is great too. So each three equally.
And what was your biggest business or technology mistake in your life?
Yikes. At Apple, I didn't really make many mistakes. And looking back, I said, well, I could have done a couple things differently that would have really actually helped Apple. But I've started other companies since then. And I think one recently was called Wheels of Zeus, and we were going to make a little GPS-based telecommunications device that you could put on a dog, not have to charge it for a year, and it would always tell you if your dog accidentally escaped its boundaries, went where it wasn't supposed to. Or you could put it in a car, or you could put it in your briefcase, and you would always be able to find these things. And it turns out that I wasn't able to accomplish it. Technically, I couldn't make it small enough cheap enough, long enough, running on the battery.
So it's something that you...
So it's technically, it was unable to achieve the first goal. We took it into different other markets, but...
And is there anything that you still dream about inventing, or that you wish you had done it?
Yes, for sometimes your longtime dreams, eventually in life, you become very associated with it. And one of those is photonics, where the photonics are doing all the logic in a computer. Basically, instead of feeding a battery into a chip, you feed in a light stream, and everything's being done with light, and light stream, a little fiber optic comes out, and there's no electrons involved. And that's, there have been a lot of experiments close to it, but it's not a viable technology yet. I'm also thinking that might apply to a new form of memory. The memory that we make the most of these days is not what you call memory in your computer, not RAM in your computer. It's the NAND flash chips, the type that you put into cameras. They're now popping up in what's called solid-state disks that make your computer a little faster. I'm working for a company, Fusion IO, that has the best formula of all. Put a bunch of them on a board, plug it right into the servers, hundreds of thousands of servers for all the big companies in the world, plug them right into the server and get rid of hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment sitting there in racks, because it's so fast, it's not needed. And I'm thinking one thing is, this is a speed. RAM is fast. This NAND flash, the storage that we're replacing hard disk with, is slower. Hard disks are much slower yet to get access to. Well, I'm thinking, where can you get a type of storage that lasts forever with no power at all, just like your camera cards, but it's as fast as the RAM in our computers? And there are new technologies trying to get there, and they each have problems. And sometimes the problems are because they're trying to push electrons through crystal structures, or they're trying to push oxygen atoms through. Those things are big and heavy. What if you were pushing photons? What if you could store photons? So I'm hoping that some technology gets found by someone someday that photons are being stored in the chip, and you'll now have a chip that's so much smaller, so much faster, and zero power.
You think it's going to happen?
I think it's going to happen. I mean, I'm sure looking for any clues I can ever find to be a part of it.
And how do you feel being an idol for, thousands and thousands, millions of geeks all over the world? I mean, you are here in Brazil. It's your second time here, and from what I feel, people love you. How do you feel about it?
I don't know. You know what? You are who you are. You can't really change who you are. You can't change your personality very much. And people just like the things that I've stood up for and spoken out for. And I've remained very much a populist person. I'm for the consumer and not the big, wealthy, powerful companies and governments and manipulators. Yeah, I'm always for people's freedom and how people feel about each other. Yeah, and I think it comes across. And I don't know. They also like the fact that I was involved in some very important technology steps, sort of the seed that has grown to this huge thing we have nowadays.
What could you say about our country, Brazil? Brazil is now very famous all over the world. The economy is doing very, very well, but we still have to invest a lot in education. What do you think about it?
I don't think education will ever get enough investment in any country of the world, because the money tends to come from government, and government allocates money according to votes, and children don't get the vote. The people who are going to be the students in schools don't get to vote for schools. And so they're always going to be squeezed out by the people that a family of 5 gets no more votes than a family of 2. And I'm for education. I've been for 2 things my whole life, technology and education. So I care a lot about this, and I do everything I can to help education. I think we need a lot of voluntary effort and a lot of effort from parents to contribute. And the really good, smart students, the ones that go far in life, generally come out of an environment where they get a lot more than just going to school and watch my kid for the day.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Great pleasure speaking to you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Obrigado.
O Espaço Aberto Ciência e Tecnologia fica por aqui, mas continua na internet. Visite o nosso site e faça o programa conosco, deixando seus comentários e as suas sugestões. O endereço é g1.com.br/globonews. Até semana que vem.